Welcome to Kill Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We are back in the studio. Previous shows, one of those was done actually in the new mobile studio from the new bus. Studio's still being built out. It's almost done. Got to do a little bit of tweaking, but that is going to allow me to get back on the road and have more flexibility about when I record the shows. Also, the main purpose for having the mobile studio is to stop and visit and interview and learn from innovators in non obvious places. There's this perception that all innovation occurs in Silicon Valley or in Boston or in Austin, Texas, or even here in Colorado in Boulder. That is not the case. There are great innovators all over this country, all over this world. If you go back, I did some shows on innovators in Rwanda, Africa. If you're not familiar with what I'm doing in Rwanda, go back, listen to that show. It also gives you some context of why I am in, or why I was in Rwanda and why I'm so involved there. But innovation can happen anywhere, and it can happen in any industry, and it can happen in a variety of different ways. And that is somewhat going to tie into today's show. We're going to go back and take a deeper dive in one little part of the FIRE framework involving ideation. Now, the ideation piece is part of the FIRE framework. This is the four elements of focus, ideation, ranking, and execution. Today, we're going to focus in ideation, but we're actually going to focus in a really small little sliver of ideation, and that is around the combining of individual ideation and team ideation, putting those two together in a unique and different way to think about that. Now, in the context, let's step back and let's refresh our memory. What do we mean by ideation? It's based on the focus area, your problem statement, your challenge statement, this opportunity that you want to look into. Once you define that focus, ideation is about creating the funnel of ideas that address that opportunity, that address that problem statement. So the ideation is where you're building up, a bucket load of ideas that you're going to go through and pick the best ones that you're going to actually take forward. So we're going to focus again on just this little sliver here in the ideation phase. And I'm going to actually borrow the concept from another person. So today it's about improving the ideas. You do individual ideation, team ideation. Is there a way to improve the idea? Once you think you're working and you're ideating, is there a way to kind of step it up? And this is based on the concept of what Walt Disney calls plus it. Now, the word plus is a conjunction. If you're an English major, I am not, so don't everybody send me markup edits of all my slides when I get punctuation wrong. But the word plus is a conjunction, but to Walt Disney, it was a verb. He would tell his Imagineers, these are the people within the Walt Disney Company who are creating shows and creating theme park rides and creating new experience for guests, and people who work in designing the experience that you have when you walk into a Disney resort. He would tell his Imagineers to plus it as a way to motivate them to take their work to another level. He challenged them to see what it was possible and then take it a step further, and then a step beyond that, and then a step beyond that. Taking that basic idea from good to great to mind-blowing. And that has really been the crux of why Walt himself, but the Disney company and all of the companies that he influenced, about taking a basic idea. Could be a great idea. You could have a killer idea. Any and every idea you or your team comes up with, you can plus it. You can take it to that next level. So, what is it about Plus It? What does it really mean? Well, Plus It, it's about iterating on ideas. It's a technique to iterate on ideas without using any kind of harsh or judgmental language like, oh, that's stupid. I've got a better idea. It's about finding what's good about an idea. Give an idea that maybe someone is throwing out on a discussion, or you're doing this in a formal brainstorming session. Find what's good about an idea and then make suggestions to make it even better and then repeat it. For instance, if someone comes up and, has a list of ideas and you go, wow, I really like this part of this ABC idea. Could it even be better if we also did XYZ with that? What do you think? And it's about building on and improving and enhancing and iterating on those ideas. That is the crux, that's the fundamental basis for this concept that Walt would call Plus It. So the question is how do you do it? So we're going to back up. We've covered this a little bit in the ideation show segment done, I don't know, month and a half ago. We're going to go back and we're going to walk back through the ideation activities, and I'm going to point out where you can insert this idea of plussing it, stepping up and improving the ideas. And that is what we're going to cover for the rest of today's show. So let's go ahead and get started. So first out of the gate is you got to brainstorm some ideas. You got to do some brainstorming. You got to get the ideas, right? So you prepare the normal work you would do with any kind of brainstorming activities. You got to dig deep for ideas. Don't stop at that first rush. What do we use? We use idea quotas. You set yourself a number of ideas that you're going to iterate. Then you got to come at the problem with different angles. You got to look at it from a customer's perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, from a sales perspective. You look at it in all different ways. You can look at it from features and function. Feature is how do I make a coffee mug bigger or whatever. Or the function is how do I carry water. Two different ways. You generates different ideas depending on how you look at it. And then good ideas get people excited. That's how you kind of figure out that you may be onto something. That idea that generates that woohoo, wow factor, that's an idea that you should be taking seriously. And remember, evaluation happens after, not during. After, not during. So, here's your activity. This is the activity that you would do at the beginning of your ideation activities. This is what we call individual ideation. So this is everybody sitting on their own, sitting at their desk, or sitting in a room where you've got everybody at tables, or in this case of COVID, you may have everybody on Zoom, but you have them mute. And this is no talking, no ideas is too crazy, and you have them just crank out the ideas. Now, I'm a big Post-it note guy, so we hand out Post-it notes. We typically get the bigger ones, not the little, sitting here trying to see, oh, yeah, here. I've got, this is the little Post-it notepad, little square pad. I find these to be a little too small. I go for the bigger ones. Here's the other piece of advice on when if you're going to use Post-it notes. We'll do a little tangent here. Get the ones that are labeled super sticky. Not just the normal Post-it notes. Get the super sticky. Why? Because later on, we're going to have everybody take these Post-its and we put them up on flip charts or put them on glass windows or, these cloth-covered walls like I have here in the studio. The super sticky will stick. These by themselves do not stick very well. And in fact, we've done everything from painter's tape. We've tried it all. Use the super sticky. So no talking. No ideas too crazy. Write legibly, white big. That's why I do the super. Bigger ones, super sticky, bigger notepads. And everybody's just to crank out ideas. We run this session for 20 minutes. And the objective is to create at least 20 unique ideas. unique. You can't say, okay, I'm going to come up with widget A and I'm going to come up with widget B, which is widget A, but made in blue. That doesn't count. It needs to be unique ideas. 20 ideas in 20 minutes. So you think, oh, that's pretty easy. If you haven't done this in a while and you're not well exercised, this can be harder than it sounds. So this is step one, individual ideation. Crank out as many ideas as possible. What I'm going to share with you is how to plus it, how to plus ideas. And we're at the stage now where you've done your individual ideation. You're running your brainstorming, your ideation activities, whatever approach you want to use. You now have had everybody sit down and crank out as many ideas as possible. So now, what is that next step? Well, that next step is to do what we call posting and grouping of these ideas. So post and zone or group these ideas. We do this for about 30 minutes. And what we do is we have each individual person stand up with their stack of ideas and stand there and go through each one of those ideas as they share them with the group. So this is the sharing exercise, team activity here. So I'll say, oh, I've got this really, great idea. It's ABC and it solves the problem in this way. And then I take it and I put it up on the post-it note. And I do that for every one of my ideas. And I sit down, the next person does theirs, and the next person does theirs. You limit it to 10 seconds per sticky or 10 seconds per idea. Okay. So you don't want people going off and doing a PhD dissertation. This is short, quick, get the idea, convey it to everybody else in the room, because part of the purpose here is they may have come up with the same idea or something similar. If somebody else in your group has come up with a similar idea, they go, oh, I got one just like it, and you post it right next to each other. So you're grouping them, you're finding the commonality around these ideas. Now, in the process of this, you're going to find people go, wow, that triggered another idea for me. What do? You have them take their post-it note, write it on, stick it up on the board. So as the process of everybody sharing, it's going to percolate and trigger thoughts, trigger ideas. Right now, you're trying to get all of the ideas up, get them all shared so that everybody is aware of the collective set of ideas from this team, and you've grouped them, you've clumped them together. Now, I've shown how to group ideas in the past. There's actually a video over on my YouTube channel. Just search for Phil McKinney over on YouTube, and you can see an example that I use with the Department of Education project around grouping these ideas. So, now that you've got all these ideas up and you've got them all grouped, now what? What do? Now we're going to do team ideation, or what Walt would call plus it. So it's a group activity. You're going to have everybody participate. One at a time, choose somebody else's idea, not your own, but an idea that got shared by your team. And there's an idea in there you're going, that's a really good idea. I really like that. I think there's something there. So one at a time, everybody chooses one other idea. And then they ideate. They think out loud. They think out loud about that idea. Wow, I think that's really interesting. I think that kind of opens up a door. There's something here. And then the team starts getting into that ideation. You're building on other ideas. You go, yeah, wow, if we could do that, could we also do this? So you're building on and you're developing each other's ideas. You're plussing it. You're taking the idea from this level to the next level. You're plussing it up. You're making the idea 2 times better, 10 times better, 100 times better. You're building upon the ideas. You're not criticizing, saying, oh, that's a stupid idea. That's not that's being judgmental. It should never be allowed in an ideation activities. It's about building on, developing each other's ideas, plussing it. and you want to keep it fast paced. Don't want to get bogged down. You get to pick one, and Bob gets to pick one, Sue gets to pick one, and off you go. And you're building on these ideas, and people are adding up. They're using the base ideas, the inspiration, and now they are adding on to it. Remember, no evaluation. It's like someone says, "Well, what happens if we did this?" Great, write it down. It's not like, "Oh, that's stupid. Don't bother." Write it down. Get it up there. You never know where these dots may get connected that all of a sudden reveal some absolute breakthrough that's going to transform your business, your life, your success. Write everything down. No evaluation. So, what do? 30 minutes. You build, develop on each other's ideas. Select one idea that you're excited about, not one of yours. It's about something that somebody else did, and add new ideas. Take an idea and create another sticky note. Put it up there. Another sticky note. Build on that one idea that you're excited about, and then ask yourself, how do I plus it? How do I make it better? How do I make it 2 times better, 5 times better, 10 times better? And now you're taking a base idea as an inspiration and you're building it up. You're raising that idea to a whole new, different level. So, why do we do this? And why am I emphasizing the individual plus team ideation? Well, the individual ideation is just you heads down with your, you know, post-it notes, cranking out as many ideas as you possibly can, right? So you're just cranking them out. Team ideation is where you come together as a group. You look at those ideas, and in the grouping where everybody shares in groups and it's spurring off ideas, that's great. And then going in and finding that idea that you're really excited about and plus it. Not your idea, it's somebody else's idea, plussing it. What I've found in all of my work, that approximately 30% more and better ideas come from this combination of team and individual ideation versus just doing it. Some people will just do individual ideation, just come up with your ideas and submit them. See you later. Team ideation is nobody does any individual work. Everybody just gets together and everybody just kind of just throwing out, yapping and sharing and talking. When you do individual ideation plus team ideation, as I described it, 30% more and better ideas. What I've also found is there's collective ownership of the ideas through the teamwork and this collaboration. People feel like, wow, we came together as a team and we really came up with some great, great ideas. So there's this collective ownership. That in turn generates passion and energy for solving the problem and opportunity statement. It's no longer about, hey, the boss told us to go do this. Through the process of the individual and team ideation and collective ownership, people's focus on executing and solving the problem gets elevated. And that is what you want. We've talked about how to do this in the context of the FIRE framework. So, how do you do it with individual ideation and team ideation coming together, and then taking those ideas that get kind of a wow reaction and then plussing it? Now, we haven't ranked it. Ranking comes in the next stage. There's a whole series of shows we've done over the last couple of months on all of this. You can go over there. Right now, we are just plussing it. How do I take ideas and how do I make them 2 times better, 5 times better, 10 times better? And doing that as a team activity. So, Walt Disney did this for many, many years. In fact, it was core and fundamental, and it still is core and fundamental to the Disney culture. It doesn't matter whether you work as a theme park operator or you work as a host at a resort, or you are an Imagineer coming up with the next great ride, or you're producing a Disney or a Pixar film. Plussing it is part of the culture at Disney. Now, a lot of other organizations have embraced plussing it and have applied it to their own businesses. So, what I want to talk through right now are some examples. Walk you through a few examples. I'll throw through a couple Disney examples, but then I'm going to talk about other industries that have focused on, or businesses, companies, who really embrace the plus it concept and have applied it to their own areas. So, what are some of these examples of the plus it approach? One is Walt actually applied plussing it early on in the launch of Disneyland. Walt came up with this idea for a Christmas parade. So having the whole Santa thing going through the park. Nobody had ever done this before. The park was relatively new. Walt wanted to do this. All of the financial people at Walt Disney Company said, "No, no, no, don't do that. The guests are there already. We don't have to do anything else. It's going to cost us 300,000." It was $350,000, I believe, is what the cost for this for the first Christmas parade. And the financial people are like, "Well, we don't need to do this. We don't need to spend that money. The people are already in the park. They're not expecting anything. We haven't announced it. Why are we going to do this?" Well, it's exactly. They're not expecting it. We are going to do this to deliver a wow experience, something that they had not expected, something that pluses their experience of being in the park. Needless to say, Walt did the Christmas parade, huge success, and it drew even more people to the park wanting to experience that whole approach to plussing it, constantly stepping up the bar and improving it. Second example of with regards to Walt Disney was Space Mountain. Now, Space Mountain, it's an iconic ride at Disney, but it'd been around for quite some time. So they went through the process of actually rebuilding the entire ride for the park's 50th anniversary. Now they just didn't go in and clean it up and put a new slap of paint on it. They literally took out the entire ride and they completely rebuilt it from scratch. They made all new cars, all new tracking, all new lighting, electronics. One of the big features that was never really promoted until the ride opened and the first riders were going through was the synchronization of audio with the ride. It was a whole new concept. Nobody had ever done anything like it before. It was a completely new experience, and it was amazing. People could not stop talking about it. That is just an absolutely iconic example of plussing the experience. Doing things that nobody else has ever expected, not out there thumping your chest and revealing it in your press release about some new product. Just having that experience there so that when people engage in it, they go and they step back and they go, "Whoa, hadn't planned on that. Didn't anticipate that. That is different. This is great. I've never even heard of this before, and I got to experience it." That is the reaction you get when you apply plussing it to your ideas. Third example is the Apple iPod and then the iPhone. Steve Jobs used to talk a lot about the influence that Walt Disney had on him as a entrepreneur, as an innovator. Watching and growing up, with Disney animations. If you look even in the old animations like Snow White, you can see these little subtleties, these little things that 99% of the people would never notice, but somebody's going to notice. And it adds just a little bit of sparkle to the experience because people then, the second time they see the film, they go, "Wow, I didn't notice that the last time I watched it." Watch a Pixar film. They're all over the place inside Pixar films. But Apple applied that. Steve applied that. He applied it to the iPod, then the iPhone. The experience that people got in the launch of the iPhone of a phone like that, nobody had ever experienced it before. Nobody had ever seen anything like that before. It was totally transformative. Today, people go, "Oh, okay, it's an iPhone, right? Nice, big glass. It's got some." But even in today's world, Apple is always looking at how do we plus it? How do we plus that experience? How do we plus that user interface? How do we plus and deliver something that the customer's not expecting? How do we take that experience and just can ramp it up in a big and meaningful way. And the question always is, you know, with Steve's, passing from pancreatic cancer and Cook having been in charge, it's been quite some time now. Steve hasn't been around for a while. And you can answer for yourself what your thoughts on Apple's ability to continue to plus it, to raise that bar, so that when you think the product is done, what do you do to plus it? When they when the engineers come to you and say, "Up, we got it, we're done. This is the thing we're going to go build." How do you plus it? It's Plussing it is where you stand out. Where this idea, this innovation, will be differentiated. Another example is Tesla. If you look at Tesla and the experience that it started with to its continuous introduction of new features, the one feature I always like to uh, remind people of, and I think about it, I just find it amazing, is the summon feature, where you can have your car in a parking lot and you can summon it to come from the parking lot to the front of a restaurant, let's say, and pick you up. Um, and all kinds of other Easter eggs that Tesla hides in the applications, in the software that make up the experience inside of the vehicle. And there's an example of another company that just is constantly plussing it. They're adding on. That's never done. Walt used to always say that, look, I built Disneyland, but Disneyland and all of the theme parks in the future, they will never be done. There's no concept of done. There's always the ability to plus it, to improve it, right? And if you look, Walt Disney World's getting ready for its big anniversary. It has shut down a bunch of rides and a bunch of sections of the parks to completely uplift it, plus it way up in a big way, and to reveal that with the big anniversary coming up in 2 years in Orlando. So always being able to plus it. And then the last one is Zoom. Full disclosure, Zoom is a sponsor of this show. I would put them on the list anyways, but uh, I've been a Zoom user since the alpha version. So why do I mention Zoom? Did you realize that in the last year, even pre COVID, Zoom averages 300 new features a year? 300 a year. There's still only 355 days in a year. Zoom releases 300 features in a year. Zoom, Eric, his team are constantly asking, how do I plus it? How do I make the Zoom experience bigger, easier, better, more reliable? How do I plus the Zoom experience? 300 features a year, and you look at some of those features they've added, mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. So, these are the examples of plussing it that I think you should take a look at. You should be aware of the other ones and see how you apply them to your business. Today, we've been talking about Walt Disney's approach to plus it. And Walt applied that to radically, significantly improving the ideas for new products, for new films, for new rides in the theme parks, or even for new theme parks. Walt applied it to his early work at Walt Disney World. Unfortunately, he died of cancer and was not alive when Walt Disney World launched. But you could see his hands all over it with the concept of Epcot, Magic Kingdom, the things that he experienced in the building of Disneyland, and he wanted to plus it. He wanted to make Disney World even better, constantly raising the bar. Take a raw idea coming in from an Imagineer, and that's a great idea, but how do we plus it? How do we make it even better? What can we do to it to really make it stand out, to really make it something special? And that is the whole concept behind what Walt was doing and why plussing it became a language. Walt invented the word plussing, Plussing. So plussing it is a term that Walt invented. It's been adopted across a wide range of industries. We talked in the last segment about the number of examples. So just to remind ourselves, what does it mean we mean by plussing it? It's all about iterating on ideas. And it's not just one iteration, like, okay, how do I plus it one step? If you when you plus it to that level, then you ask you again, how do I plus it more? How do I plus it more? And how do I plus it more? And you're building up this set of ideas that can transform the whole concept. It's a technique to iterate ideas without using harsh or any kind of judgmental language. It's not about, well, that idea kind of really stinks, but here's mine, right? No, it's about using each other's ideas as inspiration and improving it and iterating it and then repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. You find what's good about an idea that's been proposed and then make suggestions. Don't criticize it, but make suggestions to make it even better and then repeat it. If you go off and you search, go off and do a Google search for plus it or plussing it, um, you'll actually find that people have applied this concept to even doing performance reviews of people. All right. Don't be harsh. Don't be judgmental. Take the challenge that they're having and how do you improve it? How do you fix it? How do you help them rather than, pound on them or grind on them? And look, we talk on this show and in my workshops a lot about the innovation antibodies. Those are the critics. This is not the role for the critics. This is a role about taking people's ideas and making it better. So if someone has a great idea, this idea ABC, and you look at it and you go, wow, I really like this part of ABC. Could we make it even better if we did XYZ? And then somebody else in the team goes, wow, if you did XYZ, we could do, M&OP and constantly improve that. And that's part of what I mean by plussing it. That's what Walt did with plussing it. I'm a big believer. If you've been listening to the show for any kind of time, you've heard me use the term plus it. I just had some of you have asked me about, what does it really mean? And I've tried to read about it and how do I really make it, part of my activities. Hopefully today's show showing you how to do your ideation activities, individual ideation, team ideation, bringing those together and then applying that plus it. Take all of those ideas that the team has generated, find those ideas that really have a wow impact on people, and then how do you plus it? How do you take it to the next level? How do you make it 2 times better, 5 times better, 10 times better, and never stop? When you're done and you've released that product, go back and ask yourself, now how do we plus it? How do you take the original iPhone and improve it? How do you take the original iPod and improve it? How do you take the original Tesla car and improve it? How do you take the version 1.0 Zoom and make it better? It's relentless plussing that you're applying to those ideas and you're constantly iterating it. So, how do you practice this? How do you put this in play? Well, one is just run your ideation sessions. There's probably a 6-part series, I think, that we did over the last couple of months on everything from focus, ideation, ranking, and execution. Take that, run it, use it. You are hereby authorized to use everything that I share in this show. Like I've been doing this, we're in season 16. Been doing this for quite some time. Use it, try it out. If you want some help, ask. More than willing to help. We've actually created a disruptive ideation workshop called disruptiveideation.com. You can go over and check that out. This is the work that we did with the U.S. Marine Corps. I've done it with Brother Printers, did it years ago with HP, did it with Kroger Foods, did it with Procter and Gamble, did it with Boston Medical, did it with Ford, did it, thousands of companies. It's a 1-day activity. That's what all it takes. 1 day, run the workshop, experience yourself, and then apply it. So if you're interested, hop on over to disruptiveideation.com, check that out, and just let us know. There's a little form, you can fill it out. Someone will call you and talk to you, and we'll see how to make that happen. Um, if you need to contact me, my email address, phil@killinnovations.com. You can check out the blog at philmckinney.com, or as always, the show notes for today's shows are over at killerinnovations.com. If you want to get connected, text the word innovation to 44222. Again, innovation to 44222, or send an email to innovation at killerinnovations.com. Now, as I wrap this up, there's one Walt Disney quote that I just love that I want to challenge you to think about and meditate on for this week as you're out there trying to create your killer innovation. And that is, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. That is your task for this week. Meditate on that. Come up with those great breakthrough killer innovations, and you have an opportunity to change the world. Talk to you next week. Bye bye.